thoughts, comments?
I'm like Dean and John, I'll just be honest with people, I received phone calls as well for people expressing concerns. And I can recognize that, for that to happen. So kind of the middle of the road approach for this would be is if a family chooses or an individual chooses to make, let's say they want to make a donation to furnish a classroom. The thought process there was allow them to have the naming plate outside the classroom and then put their name on the donation wall as well. So is that something that you would find acceptable?
If we thought about it, I don't know what, like I said, I only got like 3 or 4 phone calls and a couple conversations, so I think it'd be smarter for us as a board to see what input from, before we make a decision and then we have to try to do it or push it. It'd be smart to do a little bit of time, try to figure out what the concerns are from both sides, make a decision after.
Are you proposing just putting the word out there for people to call?
I would just say, we're looking for input, this is what we're thinking. I did take 3 or 4 phone calls, but I wasn't downtown, I'm not sure if I were.
Well, and I just want you to know, at the last board meeting, John talked about a minimum price, and so we set that. Other policies that we looked at kept that open and kind of generic. They said significant gift. Well, as you clearly pointed out, a significant gift to one family might be $100. A significant gift to another family might be more than that. So how do you determine that? That's why I press the foundation to say, take the pressure off of us a little bit and say it has to be a minimum amount. So, but I'm like you, and I understand, we're a public school, we're a public entity. You don't want to walk down the hallway and see a big sign that says, whatever you want to call this area, that it's the mural, music wing, or whatever you want it to be
I'm
called.
sure that won't happen.
But I'm just using that as a reference point, so I get that, and so I think a nice compromise was to say, we're gonna give you fair and equal treatment to anyone that wishes to make a donation. That is by simply putting the nameplate outside the classroom, so they might have a desire to do early childhood, or they had a fond memory of their 2nd grade teacher. They might want to say to us, I want that 2nd grade classroom named. And so I felt that was a nice compromise, to use the plaque outside of the room and then put their name on the donation wall.
Do we know if any of the other recently moved schools like California have done something similar as this?
I'm not aware of that. The only one that comes to mind is that we've been in consultation with Moose Lake. They have passed a similar policy. We know that on some of our tours that we went on, now this is not a public school, this is a private school, which makes it totally different. As you well know, Lourdes is a private school. We we're aware of some of the donations that were made to that school. And of course, that's an entirely different
But
venue.
I was at the foundation meeting as well. The policy that is brought forth with the changes is modeled after Winona High Schools or Winona Public Schools policy on how they handle it too. So it is another public one that the foundation thought was a good reference.
And they had a large 6-figure donation just within the last 5 years. Custodian donated a whole new science wing for their high school. So that was rather significant. So they modeled, they had to put a policy in place in order for that to happen as well.
How many did that?
I think it's within the last 6 years. So.
If we get back to, I mean, this is a public school, and there are significant taxpayers that contribute to the school, and they don't get their naming rights. And that's, I guess I've been troubled by that. The fact that you can, donate separately and get naming rights. This doesn't quite sit real well with me. And, you know, the other thing is, when you make a donation like this, there should be some, if your motivation is just to get name recognition, I just kind of question that. If you're looking what your motives are to do that, so. I guess maybe it is, you're right, we need to do this a little more thoughtfully, see what,
These people wouldn't call me if they didn't have this.
I think you need to keep in mind though, that if it's something that's that near and dear to a family, they want to leave some type of lasting legacy for their family name. So I think, you know, if that's a desire that they want to do and that's what they have worked out with their family, I think that we should give that consideration as well. Because that's, in a lot of respects, that's what they want. They're not looking for their names in the light, but they want to leave a lasting legacy.
But that lasting legacy is come at a price, and so we're in fact selling that portion for the exchange of whatever money comes, and I just don't see any part of that building should be for sale. I think I can live with a wall that's been mentioned. The plaques and other things, they're again, that's a good being sold, because whatever they furnish that room with, as we can look at the bills, that doesn't last very long in a classroom. We're putting an infinite price on something that is very finite. And so I can buy the wall. I think that would be appropriate, and people can, and there's been some around here. Well, the fairgrounds over at Fillmore County has a giant board, thank you to donations, and it lists all the people that donated, no matter what their donation was. So I guess I could do that, but the rest, I think we should do away with this policy, thank the people for their work, and if there's enough impetus to do some more work and come up with another solution, I think we should give that some thought at that time. But otherwise, I think we should just not approve the facility naming rights policy and not include it in the book. And if that needs if that can go as a motion, I would certainly move that we do not approve the second reading for the policy 875 facility naming rights policy.
And would your intent be that the policy be put on hold and revised or looked at for revisions?
No, my intent is that the policy go away. And if somebody wants to come back with something else, we'll foundation or something, we'll entertain it at that time. But the naming rights, I don't see.
you're leaving your sort of tabling it, or?
My thought was that we could table it at this point, give it back to the foundation, and ask them to concentrate on contributions versus payments. Does that make sense? Would that be acceptable to you, John?
Yes, naming rights is, I don't think that has any place in the public schools.
With that intent, I would second the motion. To table.
The motion is to just do away with it, but we don't have a motion. It hasn't been seconded. You made a motion to do away with the policy, period.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that has not been seconded.
You're not gonna make a motion when you receive it.
Okay.
So you need to act on this motion.
Yeah, we
You
need
have
to deal with the first motion.
First, what first motion died?
Well, if there's no second, I mean,
And I will make a motion to.
but we gotta,
I'm sorry.
I guess we have to
Is there a
Ask for
second?
Second motion, so it does, I'm here, so it fails. So, moving forward, you wish to make a motion
To send this policy back to the foundation and ask them to consider a policy regarding contributions versus state grants.
to, second to Joyce's motion?
No, it's like,
Any more discussion on tabling the naming rights issue? All those in favor of tabling it, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Go back and take another look at that. Moving on to item 7, new business. New school updates and approval of change orders. Robinson of ICS, you ready, Jim?
Yes, sir. I'll stay back here and use some cheat sheets that I have on my laptop. I'll try to talk loud enough where everyone hears me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board. Quick status update on the project, the mechanical roof ends, all the duct work, plumbing, some of the electrical. It's almost completed on the second floor, the rough end work. They've moved down to the first floor, going on classroom additions. The metal stud framing, so the actual framing of the classroom walls, mechanical walls, etc., on the first floor are in progress. They are moving along at a rapid pace. The second floor metal stud walls of classrooms, learning areas, breakout areas are done and sheetrocked. The majority of those on the classroom side are sheetrocked and taped and floated, basically ready for final sanding and then moving into the painting phases. The retaining walls, if you've driven by lately on the west side, the loading dock side of the project, are completed with the MnDOT spec of the landscape bricks, the heavy-duty landscape bricks. Site work, the site utilities are moving in place. They are putting in all their stubs, their final work for the winter to gear down and let winter come and pass and then pick that up early spring of next year. The grading of the site and the final retention pond is in place. They are putting in a clay liner on it now, so it'll be done, dressed up, finalized, ready to hold, to perform its duties as a retention pond. As far as next week, the roofing, they're anticipating roofing to be complete and dried in on the entire project. That'll be before Thanksgiving. It'll be done hopefully a little sooner before weather hits, but they without a doubt be complete before Thanksgiving. The exterior sheathing, if you notice looking right in the main entrance, all of the rock, the fancy stonework around the perimeter is done, the columns are completed. The metal stud framing on the roof, the parapets are done, they just have to finish sheathing those. Those will get the metal panels that are coming into play. So the whole front of the building will start taking shape, it'll actually change color again. Up on the top, the theater, the metal studs are coming in on the theater, so that area in itself is going to start actually looking like a theater. All of the heavy metal, the catwalks, the lighting poles, the rigging, the ballast work, all that is in place. So if you walk in, you can actually see it. It's not excavated yet. They threw the dirt back in over that so they can finish that project, but they'll come and re-excavate that. Put the slope in the floor for the seating, for the actual theater seating and all. So it's actually moving along at a fantastic little tick. There's no issues with that. As far as billings, we were over 50% last month. We're about 54 now this month's billing. So that's good news. Change order 7, it's been a few months since we've had a change order, and I incorporated about 13 change requests into this. The total is $29,400 and change. That's $476. And with that is a lot of just better maintenance for the actual end product without going into each individual PCO For example, some of the items are we're taking some of the galvanized chain link fencing, moving it to a vinyl covered for maintenance issues, dress issues. It'll look nicer, it'll last longer. The paving, some of the paving, we're modifying from heavy-duty asphalt in the truck dock area to concrete. So when we do maneuver semi-trucks and heavy load items, when they go and stop and actually turn their wheels, they don't dig into the asphalt. We're making some of that majority concrete. It's about 5,000 feet of some concrete paving. The brickwork on the landscapes, or on the loading dock side, that's incorporated into this. That's that final area next to the retaining walls that we're making that a brick face front. Those are the big ticket items in that area. There's a lot of zero cost items, which is more of a maintenance issue. We're adding some hills and valleys in concrete just for when it does become winter, and maintenance for custodial work to push snow and load drainage and all that, to just make it easier. We're just adding, changing a few elevations, those types of items. Those do, they total up to about $29,476. That brings us to $63,000 in total changes on the job, which is $63,150.19. So that's pretty stellar work for this far into the project. We're down, what the unforeseen, we're done with that now. We can actually, you notice that's where some of this money is. This is to make the project just more user friendly per the actual end user. So we're able to allow some of that work going forward. That being said, the heaters are on, the gas lines are in place. They're ready to continue work through the winter. They are dried in to the point where they're using vinyl to cover all the open windows that aren't in place. They're monitoring the temperatures it's basically not going to fall below 50 in the actual working environment, even in the coldest days. And so that'll allow them to actually do some flooring, some paint, the sheetrock, mud, grout, fire stopping, all the compounds that need to stay within a certain temperature range of radiation. That allows them to keep working, and so that's how they determine they're going to continue a little bit ahead of schedule right now. I don't have any flag off in the contract as far as we need to push and go a little faster, a little further. That's about it. I mean, everything, not terrible news yet, knock on wood. Any questions?
Anything for Mr. Robertson?
Thank you.
Good, thanks, Tim. Need to approve the change order 7, is that?
Correct. Yes, sir. Change order 7, it will actually be arriving in the office, in district office tomorrow. It's executed already with architect and contractor, and so the district just needs to.
For a motion to approve item 1 of new business, change order number 7. Second.
Second by Howell.
All those in favor of change order 7 under new business item number 1, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Moving on to item 2 of new business, adopt the resolution for canvassing returns of votes of this school district general election. Located on page 20, there's some more information handed out. Reading, and also on pages 13 through 8. Anybody have any questions on that before we adopt that resolution?
Move to adopt.
Motion by Pettit, second.
I'll second.
Okay. Pettit, and a second by Miro. This does require a roll call vote. We're voting on the adoption of the resolution and this returns of votes of school district general election.
Valerie Howe,
Accept.
Joyce Iverson,
Yes.
Julie Cope,
Yes.
John Linder,
Yes.
Dean Miro,
Yes.
John Pettit.
Yes.
Motion carries. 6-0. Moving on to item 3, adopt the resolution authorizing issuance of certificates of election and directing the school district election clerk, Laura Hahn, to perform other election-related duties. And on pages 21 and 22.
So moved.
Moved by Vedder. Second by Coe. Require a roll call also, I believe.
Valerie Howe,
Yes.
Joyce Iverson,
Yes.
Julie Cope,
Yes.
John Linder,
Yes.
Dean Merrill,
Yes.
John Pettit.
Yes.
Is approved, 6-0. Moving on to item 4, approve the world's best workforce summary. Jim, it's yours.
For the world's best workforce here, what we have, good, each year we have to create some goals, and this is kind of one of those like curriculum plans, and the goal of, through the state of Minnesota is we want to create the world's best workforce when they leave our district and throughout the state. And there's 5 main goal areas, and one of the things we need to do is say what our goals were last year, review the goals, and then we made new goals. And we've got a committee of, I think, 20 individuals, would you say, made up of parents, students, teachers, administration, peers, you name it, a bunch of people, and we go over each of these. So one of the big ones is all students are ready for kindergarten. So last year we talked about, and our goal was 80% of our preschool and kindergarten students will meet predetermined benchmarks as defined by our early childhood and kindergarten PLC at the end of last year. And we have some, they do some testing, they've got 3 different blocks, they sit together. Each week they meet in their PLC and they come up with these benchmarks or these goals that they want them to meet. Last year we had 73.87 meet, so not quite at 80%, but we kind of moved up. So then this year we said, hey, let's stay with the same goal. They kind of, as that PLC talked, there were some things that they thought they could do differently to kind of keep increasing that. So that's our goal, is to get at least 80% of our students, either between preschool and kindergarten, to meet these benchmarks, to meet these goals. Another big one is all students in 3rd grade are achieving grade level literacy. So our goal last year was 88% of our 3rd graders to be proficient on either the MCA test or an Ames Web test. It's just a different test that we use for benchmark testing. And there's a few students, when we talked with our 3rd grade teachers, Title I teachers, we made that goal that are, well, they passed the MCA but not the other, or vice versa, and they're like, they can read, they can take care of it. But as we know, the MCA is sometimes a one-time snapshot, and it could have been didn't have breakfast that day, didn't get much sleep. It just could have been a bad day for them, so they just missed it. So we went there, we had 89.3% of our students who were proficient on one or the other or both. So then we said the goal, let's make it to 90%. So hopefully at the end of this year, 90% of our students can be proficient when they leave 3rd grade on one of those. We have closing the achievement gap. So the state of Minnesota said that it used to be, when there was No Child Left Behind, the big federal one, it was 100% by 2017, 100% of your students had to be proficient. So every MCA test by next spring, every kid was supposed to pass. And the state of Minnesota, after a while, said that's just not realistic. We're just not going to get there. So they said closing the achievement gaps. And what they did is they said whatever your score was in, I think it was 2012 or 13, by 2017 you have to close that by 50%. So every school has a different target. And then they also have some subgroups in there. And the subgroups could be free and reduced lunch, could be minority, special education, and then they have white students as a subgroup as well. So our goal was that all students, including all subgroups, would meet these proficiency level indexes at the end of last year. So at math, we had all 3 levels met, reading at the elementary met, and our reading at the middle school and high school did not meet. So that just was, they improved, but they didn't improve enough. And they didn't close those achievement gaps is what it is. So again, our goal this year going forward is we'll meet it at all groups again. So we're still trying to push and get that predetermined goal, that benchmark the state gives us. All students are college and career ready by graduation is their 4th big world's best workforce area. Last year we gave a plan test, and that test has now gone away. And last year we said 60% of our 10th graders would be proficiency scores on this plan test. We had 48 and 50%. This year we're changing it, and this is one of our strategic plan. We went over that, I think, in August. Our strategic plan for the district about all of our students who take the ACT scoring 21 or above. And I'm not exactly sure on my numbers, but I want to say this year when I did the numbers, it was right around 60% of this year's seniors. Last year when they took the ACT scored 21 or above. So we're saying hopefully 68% of our kids by the end of this year will score 21 or above on the ACT, those juniors. And this is one of those things, if we look at our strategic plan, this fits right as there, about the number of kids that we want. So hopefully when they take that ACT, they're prepared for college. And then the last one, they want all students to graduate. And our goal last year was 95% of our students would graduate with their 4-year cohort. We had 96.15. We're going to stay at 96%. And why we picked 96% as a group is as such a small district with 50 kids, 1 or 2 kids can fluctuate that so much here and there that we didn't want to jump around, but we thought 96%. Because the state says if you're over 90, you're doing good. So we just want to keep pushing towards 100 if we can. So that's kind of the review of our goals from last year and then the goals that we're working for through our committee with our teachers this year. Questions on anything of those? I need for you guys to say that I presented that and show it, because then I got to write a report to the state on this, saying that all of this stuff pretty much, but then it says the date that it was presented and approved by the board.
Any questions from the gentleman? Best workforce. We need to approve that that was presented to us.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Cole.
Second by Everson.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries. Item 5, approve the schedule and credit requirements for grades 6 through 12, beginning with the 2017-18 school year. Can Mr. Tippett have that?
I got that too. But as you guys may have heard, we're getting a new building next year and we're kind of all be coming together. So we kind of sat down as a group and said we want to make one schedule for our 6 through 12. Because right now our 6th through 8th graders on one schedule, our high school is on a different schedule. And when we went to mesh them together to make best use of our time, facilities, staff, you name it, we said one schedule would just be so much better so you don't got to listen to bells, all that stuff. So last year we sat down, I started this time thinking about how can we do this. And an email went out to all staff members from grades 6 through 12 middle school, high school. We put together a committee. We started meeting in January. We met January, February, March, April, May. So we met 5 times as a committee. We talked about the different things about the schedule. They went back to their teams, to each school, their PLCs, talked about it, brought stuff back. As we sat down at this, I looked and I picked probably the 20 schools, or the 40 schools, 20 on each side of us, of enrollment, and said, what schedules do they have? So we sat down, and the goals through this was to provide a single schedule for our 6-12 students, to provide an opportunity for more flexibility and more elective choices, to provide more flexibility among our staff. Like I said, we put together that committee. So we went through and we looked at, like currently our middle school is 6 50-minute periods and a 30-minute study hall. Our high school is a modified block where we have 3 78-minute periods, 2 44-minute periods, and a study hall. We looked around the state, a lot of them do 50-minute periods for like 8 periods a day or 7 periods a day. Some do block periods where they do 90 minutes, 4 90-minute periods. There's some that do trimesters. It's kind of whatever works. And then again, on top of all that, we looked at, we have a contract in place, and we got to make sure that whatever we do fits within the contract, meets the contract, so we can't have teachers teaching more, teaching less all over the place. So we sat down, and like I said, we just kicked around, how can we do this over and over and over again? And what we came up with was a trimester type schedule. And the schedule comparisons for the high school, I'll go over the middle school next. Because right now, at the high school, a 78-minute block is a semester long. You get a credit for that. Or a 42-minute skinny is a whole year long. You get a credit for that. And in the end, you can get 32 credits to graduate high school. In the new schedule, you would have 30 credits. Every credit would be worth half a credit, or every class, excuse me, would be worth half a credit. So you would take 5 classes each trimester, you'd take 15 classes during the year, you'd get 7.5 a year to get to 30 credits. When we talked about some of the student opportunity, right now there's 29 courses that are required with 12 elective courses, because every course is 1 full credit. In the new one, there'd be 39 courses that are required with 21 electives. It's a lot more. We have to think of like English 9. English 9 is here. Over here, English 9, I have an English 9A and an English 9B. You would have to take 2 trimesters to get a full credit of like your English 9. So that's where the 39 courses comes in instead of the 20. And I'll show you where that one little missing piece is there. But then you get 21 courses as an elective. And how that came about with those more courses is the same thing of more electives for our students, more dabbling. An example of that could be foods class. Right now, if someone wants to take Mrs. Thompson's foods class, it's a whole credit. So it blocks up a whole credit. Over here, she's going to have like an intro to foods for a 0.5, and then she might have more foods later, so now kids can dabble a little bit more. I can maybe take that intro to foods class. I can take that intro to welding class. I can take the like a creative writing class. I can take different things and move around and get more experience. If I really want to be with something, there's a lot more classes there. If I want to dabble around and take a bunch of everything, I can. It just gives those kids more. Like we talked about the course weight, instructional time, just make sure we're not losing any. Right now, our skinnies were about 128 hours a whole year. Our blocks are 113 hours. The credit will be 126 hours. So a whole credit will be about the same as the skinny, so we get that same amount of instructional time. And mainly these are for our core area classes, where the trimester or for those elective classes it's a little bit less, but then again, it's that elective class that they can dabble a little bit more in. For the middle school, currently they're on a 6-period day, like I said, 50 minutes with a 30-minute study hall. On the new one, they'd be on a 6-period day as well. So it's the 5, and again, we'll show you the schedule here in a minute. It's 5 for the high school with the study hall. They'd have 6. The first 4 would be 65 minutes, just like the high school. Their last 2 periods we take and we break down the middle to have their electives. So what they would have is in the morning, they would have their math, English, science, social studies. They'd get their 4 cores done. In the afternoon, they'd get electives. They'd get their music, their FIED, their study hall, their arts, ag, all those exploratory things in the middle school. They'd get that broken up in a small chunk in the afternoon. Before they had 50 minutes all year long, now they're going to get 65, so they get a little bit extra there. In the middle school currently, they got a 30-minute study hall every day. In the new one, they have an option of a 42-minute study hall every other day. So a student that wanted to be in both band and choir probably couldn't have a study hall, but if you wanted to be in band or choir, you could pick a study hall. Or if you didn't want to be in either of them, you could have a study hall every other day. And right now, currently, they have extra reading and math built in opposite of FIED, and it's not an everyday thing or an every other day thing. It's like 1 quarter's reading, 1 quarter's math, and it kind of bounces around. Or we would just build that extra reading and math into those 65 minutes. So it gives the students hopefully more time in there to do that work. And some of the study hall time that they lose, if they had science or social studies, instead of 50 minutes and then study hall, it'd be 65 minutes. So that teacher could then work with them and they'd have that content area teacher there to help them. The graduation requirements, where I said that little blip in there of why I said it was 39 required, everything's the same except what I would like to do is take off computer applications. Because it's a class that we had taught before and we were doing it to do an every other day type of thing. The kids come in now with so much technology skills, and with our one-to-one initiative, we're pushing technology all the time. Just talking, as I don't feel like we need a class dedicated to that at the high school because they get that integrated all the time. So instead of requiring them to take a class where they know how to do a lot of the stuff, we instead give them another elective that they can pick something they want. But otherwise, in the old one system and the new system, everything else is exactly the same, what they would have to get to graduate. So what the schedule would look like is we'd have our announcements in the morning for 5 minutes. We have our 65 minutes. So if I'm a high school student, I've got first, second, third, eat lunch, 4th hour, 5th hour, and then I got a 20-minute study hall at the end of the day with 5-minute passing time. Middle school student gets to the first 3, During fourth hour, they get a break in the middle, their lunch would split right in the middle. And then after that, we break up the fifth hour in the study hall into their 2 periods there at the end of the day. So we're really consistent through fourth hour, then at the end we get a little inconsistent, but that's the way that we can get our kids, our middle school kids to have all their accords all year long and give them that elective time that's important to them. And then our elementary lunch, we kind of worked it to our elementary lunch would be before this, so then you could have, elementary has the first hour for lunch, high school, middle school, the second hour for lunch, and our lunchroom's big enough to do that. And that's kind of our schedule for next year proposed, just kind of wanted to put it out so school board can see, know what it is as we start talking more and start with our planning, classes, scheduling, you name it, all that stuff that's starting to come right around the corner. So, any questions on this you guys have?
On one of your screens, it was saying the study hall at the end of the day was every other day for 43 minutes
For the middle school.
for the middle school.
Yep, so for the, go ahead.
So they get it every other day, but at a little bit increased in time.
Yes.
High school gets it every day,
Yes,
but only 20 minutes?
only 20 minutes. Yep, and this year, study hall used to be about 25 to 30 minutes. This year, to attempt to get more students out for band and choir, because the scheduling is difficult, we put that at the end of the day and that increased it this year. Where next year, band and choir will be somewhere within these other 5 hours, so every student will have 20 minutes at the end of the day for study hall for the high school. So it gives us that time at the end of the day, if a teacher wants to have a meeting, if a teacher wants to do, we want to have like we had academic letter winter practice today, we'd have that 20 minutes at the end of the day, we wouldn't be interrupting any classes for the 9 through 12. The middle school would be in here, one of them, they'd have an option if they wanted to, and it would be study hall / intervention / it would be kind of this hour of, if you need to do work, if not, we can give you a little, all these computer programs we have, Alex and stuff like this, of remedial help to kind of help them, so we kind of fill that in. But that'd be an option for a kid to choose if they they didn't want to be in band or choir, they could pick a study hall or something like that, or just wanted to make a stay in the study.
This probably doesn't fit in there, but just as a time on, because a lot of parents I've heard from talk about the study halls at the end of the day, and how valuable it is in throwing kids into meetings or this and that during that time, how it takes away from the study hall there. Because the bottom line is there are certain teachers that have over excessive homework and other teachers that do more in classroom homework.
Yep, yeah, and the 20 minutes is, we don't have, when I say meetings, it's not an everyday thing.
Right.
But it's just a time during the day when you're not stealing from classroom time,
Yeah.
that you can have, we have students retake tests and do that stuff during that time. In the 20 minutes, and then we kind of polled our staff this year, I think 38 is a little bit long. And it's one of those of, when I walk through the room and look, the kids that work for 20 would work for 30, would work for 40, 50. The kids that don't work for 20 aren't going to work for 30, aren't going to work for 40. And you're kind of finding that balance of how can we make that time. And it also is a good chance if we've got every study hall there, or every teacher has study hall that's available. A lot of times the study halls with so much homework is it is just another chance at the end of the day. At the start of the day, we have, staff gets here at 7:30, we have a good 55 minutes for students to find teachers. At the end of the day, between sports and bus and go home and all that stuff for kids, this gives them a good chance at the end of the day too to run real quick and ask Mr. Kane that one more question before they go home.
Mr. Tim, since we're going to the new building, and that's why this is happening, and we're going to do the seniority list next, so we see quite a few people on that seniority list. Going to a new building from 3 buildings, I would assume that there will be some impact on staff. How will this particular scheduling impact staff? And I mean numbers of teachers required from what we have now to when we put everything together.
And looking at it, when I pieced it together, right now what we have is we don't share between the middle school and the high school. We don't really share any of the core. It's some of those elective teachers. And the elective teachers are like we have our art teacher, our band, or not our band, sorry, art teacher, ag teacher, Spanish teacher, choir teacher go over there, and we kind of lose that travel time. So this just gives us the more flexibility to have some more, maybe we're not traveling, so we can maybe offer one more elective. So Spanish, Crystal could offer one more elective because we don't have to worry about that travel time, and we can fit it in there. So in terms of middle school, high school, the way looking at it, and that was another reason when we went through the whole scheduling process with the committee, was making sure we didn't come to a schedule that said, hey, we're going to this new building, and because the schedule created, we need to come to you and ask for 4 more teachers. Like, I just didn't feel like that was anything that I wanted to do. So this schedule also works with what we have for teachers currently is what we would need to suffice with this schedule. So I would not propose any reductions or additions with this schedule. And now, saying that, a year from now, when we're into it for a year, we might say, oh yeah, we don't need this or we need more of this. But as of right now, looking at it going in, I would not say we need more of this.
Well, generally, don't you have kids sign up January, February, somewhere like that for the next school year? And you'd be doing that this year for next year.
Yep.
What is your requirement going to be in order to have an elective class? Is it going to be 3 kids? Is it going to be 15 kids? Is it going to be 1? What's the requirement going to be that determines if we're going to actually have that elective?
Yep. And I don't have a hard and fast number. What I've done in the past is try to get to double digits. And the tough thing is, most of the time with those classes, the classes that it is a AP Calculus, an AP Lit, some of those higher level classes that we're trying to keep kids here and get them to go through. And we've had classes, I mean, this year, for example, I think we had 3 kids sign up for AP Calculus, so we didn't run it. The year before, 2 years ago, we had 7 kids, so we ran AP Calculus with 7 kids. It's kind of one of those, being a small school again, it kind of fluctuates here and there. And we try to, with our staff too, we have enough electives normally that it goes through, and like in ag, for example, there's more electives in the course registration guide than we could possibly fit in here. So then they put in there, and there might be classes, and we just take the top ones and schedule those, and the one that's the smallest might have 7 or 8, but by the time we run it, it's up to 11 or 12, because the kid that signed up for the intro to welding, we didn't run intro to welding, he's got to now pop into another class. I don't know if I answered your question.
I think we should come up with a number when you get to that point. Because I think that could affect staffing. And what do you do with the person if you get them plugged in, they don't have kids?
Yeah.
So that's why I think we should have a number to determine if it's going to be a viable class or not.
And I can check with some area schools too. We have a principal lister that I can send out and just see what other schools have for that too, just so we can make a recommendation based off how other schools do it to similar size to us.
Because I think your AP classes, don't you run them now? If we don't have enough this year, then we're going to run it next year. We run it every other year or something like that.
Yep, and we do that, and that's some of these things too, and it's just, again, that's kind of the tough part of scheduling. We try to make it, and I can tell you numbers, but what I always try to do is let the kids dictate the schedule. If that guy could say, hey, we're gonna run calculus because it's a really important class, but if no kids sign up for it, I can't run it. And the next year I could say, we're not gonna have calculus, but they signed up for it. I mean, I think when I talked to Mr. Reinhardt, we talked calculus here 2 years ago, and he said that was the first time in 15 years we had, and there was just a demand of the kids coming up to run it. So we kind of created that class just for that group, and he went back and we got the schooling to run it. And then we haven't run it the last 2 years after that. So it's one of those ever-changing things where we're trying to meet the needs of our students the best we can to give them the best education. We just talked about world's best workforce, so when they leave here, they have the best possible education we can give them at a school our size.
Any questions on the schedule and credit requirements?
Long process.
Appreciate it. We need to approve the schedule. Any further questions?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Iverson? All those in favor of approving the schedule of credit requirements for grades 6 through 12 beginning next school year, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Tindall. Next on the agenda, item 6, approve the 2016-17 seniority list located on pages 23 to 26. Do we have any questions about the seniority list?
Board members, we do send it out to all licensed staff and make sure that they verify if they have any questions or concerns that they're raised at that time. So everyone has taken a look at it.
Any questions on the seniority list? Not, for a motion to approve?
Howell makes a motion to approve.
Motion by Howell, second. Second by Coe. All those in favor of approving the 2016-17 seniority list, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried. Item 7, authorize Superintendent Ayler to advertise for quotes for audit services for the 2016-17 school year. Mr. Ayler, you have anything to add to that?
No, just following up recommendation from the board that asked us to seek additional bids, and so we will make that happen after the first of the year.
So moved.
Everybody got it? Is there a second?
Second.
By Everson. Those in favor of authorizing Superintendent Ayler to advertise for quotes for audit services for the upcoming year, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Carries. Item 8, approve the substitute teacher pay of $110 per day. I believe that's a $10 increase.
It is, we're currently at $100. We did go out and survey area districts, and the average is right around $107 a day. So based on that recommendation and some input from our substitutes as well, I'm bringing a recommendation to you to increase our substitute pay from $100 to $110 per day. That's at least 4 years ago.
Motion by Coe, a second.
Second by Howell.
I'd like to discuss it.
Sure, go ahead. Mr.
Is the problem really the money, or is the problem the lack of substitutes? Or is $10 going to make a difference in the people available to us if we go with the average? Or is there another pool we can dip into, like kids that just graduated, that don't have a job or something?
Well, first of all, I think it's twofold for you, and I understand your concern there, but first of all, those that do serve our district have been doing so for a number of years, and we're blessed with having a kind of a ready pool there, but that pool has dwindled over the years, and so I would like to think that it's an incentive for others to consider, so that's our hope as well.
Well, that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is $10 an incentive. And to get the average, I don't believe that is. I think if we're going to attract substitute teachers with money, we need a lot more money than $10. If we can't attract substitute teachers because they aren't available, we have to find another pool. Is my point. I just don't think $10 is going to do it. I think if it's money, it has to be more to attract them away from another school to come here as their first choice, rather than just go to the average. They can get that there. That's what I mean. And I don't know how many subs we have a day or a year. If we have a 100 subs a year, if we're only talking about $1,000
Right.
difference. If we have, if we double that and could get more subs, to take the pressure off, we're still not talking much money. If that's what we do, that's where my question comes from.
Just trying to keep us in the market, I guess, is what the recommendation is, but I understand your concern as well. Because I wouldn't be here advocating that we double it, because that's something that we did not budget.
I think if we increase it at least some, then that kind of encourages the people that we have to stay and gives them a little bit of a bonus even though it's not a lot. Lets them know they're appreciated. We always want to err on the side of conservative, being conservative. But I see your point.
And with the rest of our negotiations, we've gone to the top, not to the average, except for the teachers, we didn't go up there. But we put some pretty big, in the area, we put some pretty big bumps in. So if I knew how many days a year we're using them, I think it'd be pretty easy to determine if it was going to be hardship.
Is it difficult, are there days where you can't find your substitute?
We're challenged on days, yeah. It's not out of the question that Mr. Tim, we have to step into a classroom. We try to limit that as much as possible, but it varies, but some days it's a challenge.
Do you have to pay mileage? Sorry.
We do not, no.
Well, I think this is a reasonable first attempt. I mean, obviously, we can readjust this at any time as needed.
Yeah, we could look at it. I'm concerned about the budget, but Mr. Euler said it's not in the budget. We could look at it again next year. Raise it more, see if there's room for in the budget.
Especially at budget.
I think we would also look at having some permanent subs. If we have that much demand, our teachers are spending that much time away. I know that there are schools in the area that have hired people just as a permanent sub. So you knew you would always have that. Not long term, I mean, just a sub. And maybe that would cover something too. But like I said, I just don't think $10 is going to jar people to come to Rushwood instead of go to Houston or someplace else.
Any other discussion on item 8, the substitute teacher pay? Current motion pending to approve. All those in favor of approving the substitute teacher pay of $110 per day, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 9, approve the first reading of policy number 721, uniform grant guidance policy regarding federal revenue sources. And that is a closure as well. First reading. We haven't had a lot of time to look at it. Mr. Wheeler, is there anything that jumps out of this?
Just make sure that we're in compliance anytime that we receive any federal dollars, that we are uniform in our procedures and guidelines that we utilize the sources as they're designated to be utilized.
I'll make some motion to approve the first reading.
Motion by Howell, just a second. Second by Iverson. Any further discussion on the first reading? Hearing none, we proceed to motion to approve the first reading of policy 721, uniform grant guidance policy regarding the federal revenue sources. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 10, approve the agreement to purchase education services for ALC Learning Year programs with Hiawatha Valley Educational District. That is on pages 27 through 31.
We're seeking board approval tonight for you to assist us in purchasing services through HVED. And it basically targets the services that we provide. For example, if we provide learning opportunities for children after school or beyond the normal school year, for example, for our high school students, that would be credit recovery. So what this purchase agreement allows us to do is purchase those services through the HVED, and then in turn, they set the salary so that it's uniform across the district and throughout the area as well.
Any questions on the agreement?
So HVED will be running our summer school instead of us. But it should be the same people.
We run it, but by utilizing these purchase services, gives us uniformity with other schools in the area.
How's this gonna be different than what we have now?
It's not, only that this now becomes a formal process that we have to follow.
To run extended year services like our credit recovery at the high school, to work it through the state, you need to have an ALC. Sometimes we don't have an alternative learning center here at our school. HVED does. So this is run through HVED's Bring umbrella, but then our school can run it, and then in the end, our staff that do this, like Mrs. Vick, Sheree Vicks runs our high school program. In the summer, they do the credit recovery. She gets paid through HVED. And then in the end, we accept the credits here. So we run the program, we do everything, it's just HVED's the big umbrella that does it. And this is just that agreement that they're saying, so then instead of before of how much goes here, how much goes there, varies, every school that uses HVED would get the same, has the same policy, same program in place if they'd like to use through HVED programs.
The state of Minnesota is requiring that all schools utilize the alternative learning centers
For those programs.
or programs. So the state is mandating HVED to make the purchase service agreements available, and in turn then the districts are required to approve this purchase service agreement. So they're complex, but it's going to work. It has worked now, it's just a formal process. Puts everyone in compliance.
Do I approve for a second?
Second by Howard.
Any other questions about the agreement to purchase ALC Learning Year programs? Those in favor of approval signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Carries. Item 11, in addition to the agenda, is the approval of the softball team fundraiser. This fundraiser is through the Adrenaline program, and it's called Shopping Glass. Mr. Tesh, is that something you're?
Coach Tesh is here, and he can provide you with a little input, and obviously he was not aware of this, otherwise this would have been on our fundraiser that we brought to the board in August, it was in July or August, one of those months. And so, Mr. Tesh, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Shopping Boss, it's kind of a new fundraiser idea. It's actually a cell phone app. So it's something that you would get you'd get a password from the student athlete, and you go on to your phone, get the app, and then it allows you to get shopping discounts at basically all the places that you already shop at. And the discounts can vary from small 1-2% to restaurants where it's up to 8 or 9%. And really, it's trying to get people discounts for places they already go. So the thought is that it would work really well for shopping in Winona, Cross, Rochester, those kind of places. I guess the reason I kind of jumped at it is it's pretty different from what a lot of the fundraisers are right now. It's not to the local merchants necessarily, and it's not selling butter breads and the food stuff that everybody seems to. I think it's a good opportunity to try something different.
How much goes to?
It's the same as the other adrenaline fundraisers. 50% goes to the team, 50% goes to them.
So 50% of the discounted sale?
Oh no, the discount all goes to the person. You basically have to buy the app. And then after that, it's up to you to use it, and whatever discounts you get using the app is yours as the consumer. So the only cost is upfront to get that activation code. And that's the part that softball and adrenaline would split. After that, depending on how much you use it, would determine how much money you save.
So it's just like a one-time?
Oh, that's another good thing. It's the code lasts for a year, and if a person likes it, you could just reactivate the code at the end of the year, and at that point, the code would send money to Adrenaline and the softball team again. So we could get residual income if people liked it and kept on signing up for it. But the initial code lasts for a year.
What does the app cost?
Yeah, that's a good question. I can't remember if it was $10 or $20. So in that way, it's pretty similar to the football card. And then again, it would be a 50% profit.
So any questions? Look for a motion to approve the fundraiser. Second? Those in favor of approving item 11, the softball team fundraiser, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to superintendent's report.
Yeah, page 32 of your packet. Before I go into that, just want the board to be aware that this week has been designated as American Education Week, and so this is kind of a 95th annual American Education Week, so we send out a note of thanks to our staff today, and they have a number of things that they recommended to us as a school district to recognize parents and support staff as well as substitute teachers. So just wanted you to be aware that this week is designated as American Education Week. And then there are donations on my note, just a thanks again to Tom and Susan Baker for their donation, their generous donation to our elementary music program. Notes of congratulations, Alice in Wonderland was our fall play. Notes to the cast and crew, held their performance, and it was record-setting performances over the weekend. Friday night I was in attendance, was a sellout, and Saturday and Sunday again were near sellouts, and again Mr. Musselman informed me that it was a record-setting as far as attendance. So my congratulations to all the cast and the crew and to Director Musselman. Then a note of congratulations to our RPE football team and coaches. As you probably have heard, they won their quarterfinal game last Friday, and so we'll be playing this coming Saturday at 9 o'clock at the new U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. So we certainly commend them on their hard work and commitment, and wish them the very best as they continue their quest for a state championship. School board election results, we went over those, but I listed those to them, and I congratulate each of the members, and as well as a special note of thanks to Taylor Peterson for his 4 years of service. Veterans Day program that was held last Friday, and we had great attendance from community as well as veterans, and so Special note of thanks to Chris Boyum, he was our guest speaker for the event. It was well received, and special note of thanks to our music directors, Mrs. Ingolson and to Mr. George for the music that they presented in the program. It was excellent, so we're very blessed to have that as a part of that. Tim shared with you the new school update, and just very pleased and grateful for everything that's moving along. And even though we've had to adjust our schedule a little bit, we were hoping that the building would be enclosed by the 1st of November. They still have made some significant gains, so we're very appreciative of the efforts being put in that. The softball field, I'm just following up from last month in Peterson. We were recently notified that the Fillmore County was declared as a national disaster area as a result of the heavy rains that we received back in September. And so we're working with Kevin Beck, the Director of Disaster and Relief for Fillmore County. So there's a meeting tomorrow to continue moving things forward in that front. So on that note, I'll just remind you that on Monday, December 19th, Truth and Taxation meeting has to be held at 6:15, and also for you to note that there is a middle school, high school concert, choir concert going on that evening as well. So happy to entertain any questions, concerns you have as far as my report is concerned.
How do we recover for a softball field when it's volunteer work and it's done?
Well, not all the work was volunteer. We did have to have the outfield and some other areas reseeded. That was done by Winona Nursery. And the cleanup area on the outside and on the field that we had, that was a bean field. We lost some crop there, as well as addition to the size of the tree logs and things that were down there. Todd Atkinson cleaned up that area for us. So we have some expenses and costs associated with that.
So we'll be able to recover.
Well, my hope is that we can get all of those costs.
And hauling in additional line.
Yeah, thank you. We have to bring in additional line because as they removed, they scraped out the infield. There's some spots up to 4 to 5 inches of silt on there. So as we remove that, obviously some of the line came with it. So our goal is to recoup our costs that were associated with that.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller? Moving on to the community education report. Ms. Walker.
I'll just highlight a few things. Youth Enrichment, our youth dance performance, so it will be on December 2nd. We do have 78 dancers, so we will be having 4 performances, so that's exciting. We have some great upcoming classes as well. I have them listed for you. Along with Youth Rec, we have Mac Club sign up on Monday, the 21st. And then youth basketball will start on the 19th, which now is rescheduled. So we are adding extra time onto the additional days on the other Saturdays to make up for the lost day on Saturday due to the football game. Adult enrichment, same thing. We have ongoing classes. Our ESL class continues to go really well. Our last evening for this year will be December 8th. And Melissa Gieber has expressed interest in coming back and holding another class, possibly in the spring, depending on interest level, which we're getting more and more, which is very fun. Adult rec continues to go, and then Kids Club highlights continue to stay strong for 11 in the morning, 33 in the evening, and then we continue with our positive behavior program with the Be Actives, or the Be Attitude, so be respectful, responsible, kind, and safe. So we recognize our kids after school. Lily Bee Preschool, like Mr. Tim and Mr. Shepherd are planning for next year. We are also doing that with our preschool program, so we have begun our meetings and we're starting to narrow down some details on that. ECFE, we had our open gym tonight, so that should be finishing up here within the next 15 minutes, so I hope they're going to return. And then our annual report was due on the 1st. We processed 1,897 registrations just in our program alone, not counting like Kids Club and the other activities that we do at preschool and ECFE, so we're pretty busy, it's kind of fun. So moving to the new school update, just to give you a little information there too, sending out information to our
the teachers about just cleaning the rooms, going through everything. Mr. Ayler's been very kind and generous with the Saturday mornings and doing tours for us, so it's been very helpful. And then playground too, we've been meeting with them, the Brett from Flagship and designing their new playgrounds, and that's been very exciting, and having more details there for colors and everything, so it's all coming together very nicely. Some other things last week that popped up that I just want to mention, we did receive a SHIP grant through Filmer County for heart rate monitors, which will be worn on the wrist or the arm. We received 25 of them for $1,540. So that was a pretty fun, fast turnaround for us. We were 5 at the end of October, and we received them the first week of November, so that was pretty exciting. And then our website also has a new homepage, so we're working out some details, but it's looking really nice, and I'm very pleased with it. So if you notice anything, please just let me know, and I can work with our schools today and try to keep fine-tuning it to make it look really nice. And with that, our cell phone app will be even user-friendly. So our cell phone, so you don't have to try to navigate through it on there. It should come up with the next one. So
Yeah, it's really exciting. Thank you, Lisa, for your report and your update. And I do invite you to go to our website, as she indicated to you, just time and effort in there, just making sure that that's kind of fluid and easy access. And so, as board members, we would value your feedback and input on that as well.
I did notice before you go to your own area, your Board of Education, I'm working with them on that one. They're having a little push there, so don't work on it.
Any questions for Ms. Lawson? Thank you. Moving on to the elementary and middle school board report.
Thank you. We have a lot of math opportunities right now for grades 2 through 6th grade. Mrs. Markowitz is working with 17 students to do a very challenging, competitive math experience for them. The students are very excited about that, and she's does an excellent job working with these students. The Sun Dog is set up through Danby York, gets that going every year, and there are, it says 23 classes, so 413 students who are involved in this. And already last week, over 82,000 questions have been answered. And when you talk that many students, and we have the two top 10 classes, Mrs. Walter, Miss Dean's class, and then you have one 4th grader, Devin Anderson, in the top 10 students. It's pretty amazing. There's 413 students who are working on this program, so it's pretty awesome. The Math Wizard, there's 17 students, so there's trying to find different opportunities for different students with different interests. The fire prevention, the 3 winners were Friday. They went to the fire station, got on a fire truck, and were brought to school because of the excitement of Veterans Day program and all of that with the middle school over here and everything. I missed it, but they were pretty excited to ride that fire truck, and it gave a little more incentive to, and the posters are pretty amazing. There's still some of them on Britain's desk, and they get little plaques and all that. The Smiles at School program, I got information about that last year. There are 700 schools participating. Each student got a little backpack, a water jug, toothbrush, toothpaste, a little timer, so the kids were encouraged to brush their teeth, and the teachers were very impressed with it. They had a little information packet of how to present it to their students, and all 3 first grade classroom teachers were very welcoming to that. And hopefully I completed a follow-up survey, and I'm hoping that continues next year as well. The online learning days, which we have changed to blended learning days in K-5. The teachers did a wonderful job setting up their plan. It's in here, but basically, internet or no internet, they're still pretty much the same in those grades. Work on your spelling words, do a little mighty math, read with your family, go outside and help shovel snow, get a little exercise. And then I like that they said play a board game or a card game. And everyone's days are different when we do not have school, especially little, K-5, K-3 especially. So they came up with really wonderful things. They're going to be sharing that tomorrow night at conferences, which elementary always has an amazing turnout, even if the other ones aren't quite as much. But the elementary is full, and very wonderful, 2 wonderful evenings coming up here in the next couple of days. I also want to highlight that we are having para meetings at the elementary level every month, and they really do come up with some great ideas and concerns and checking on things and asking questions and getting them answered. So I really do welcome that. That's actually Wednesday here in a couple of days. So they all try their best to make it to the meetings, and then they like their follow-up if they cannot attend. So I think that's a good thing we've added. We said it being at the in-service first day of school that we were going to make this work every month, so we appreciate it. So the World's Best Workforce, part of that is having a parent survey, and it's online now. We're closing it on Friday, reviewing it at our next World's Best Workforce, the results of that. Moving, like Lisa mentioned, a lot of staff is really doing an amazing job packing up. It's been encouraged, go to one corner of your room, start filling boxes as you complete the different lessons and the series, and they're really doing a nice job. The middle school too, it isn't as apparent to me in some of the classrooms, but even Mr. Tesh today, when I was in his room for a while, he said that he's been going through, there's so much in, like here too, there's so much in some of these rooms. But they're all embracing this and getting excited and realizing, again, the tours are so nice. They come back with a lot of questions, and pretty excited about what this new step is going to be for everyone. So, a lot of great things happening.
Any questions for Mrs. Sherman? Thank you. Tim, high school.
As you can see there, we have our honor roll up top, so we have 60% of our students during first quarter be on the A of the honor roll. We have 21 students during 4.0. Coming up this Wednesday, we have our academic letter winners assembly. We have a total of 54 students from last year, because we are our last year's students. So we got 40 current students, and then our 14 seniors from last year. So 25% of our students last year got a 3.67 for the entire year. Below that, you see our National Honor Society. On Sunday, October 30th, we had our induction ceremony of our National Honor Society members. We got some of our current members and new inductees. Mrs. Kelly Smith was there that night, gave a great speech to all the inductees and the current members and the parents as well on the National Honor Society. It was a real fun night for us. So, we had the Three Rivers Conference Music Festival last Monday. We had those students there participate. They were in Preston for the day and they got to play. I think a big kick, they said it was 2 of the pieces that they got to perform. The composer of the piece was actually there, so they got to meet the person that wrote the piece that they were performing. So kind of a cool thing for them there. As Mrs. Shepard mentioned, on November 4th that day we had mindfulness training for all of us, and then also the high school too, we talked about that online blended learning. And I know high school, middle school, elementary, everyone, the focus during the discussion was the concern that was brought to the school board about not having online at home, and what are we going to do on those, of making sure that our students and our families, if you don't have access to internet at home, how can you still have work that day? And teachers, a lot of them came up with, well, you know, now with technology, we're going to know when it's going to snow most of the time, so you can be prepared. And if we have that out of the blue one and we don't, we'll be flexible with kids. Some teachers have calendars that they say it's going to be the same, you know it's going to come. Some have online activities, some don't, but every teacher is willing to be very flexible coming back after the fact with students. That's just so we don't lose education if possible. Speaking of the play, yeah, wonderful time, wonderful performances by all the students. Just a thank you to all our fall athletes and students. The FFA there, they've had their annual career development events, so they've had their judging and all that stuff taking place this fall. That's kind of the different events that they've went to. Mr. Lynn and Ms. Dudley have done a phenomenal job taking kids there and getting them prepared. Not mentioned in here, but for Veterans Day, I just want to commend our students. We had K-12 were in the gym all at once, so we had 600 some students in the gym, and they sat for an hour during the ceremony and were quiet, attentive, paid attention, wasn't much talking. It was a very, very unique thing. And it was one of those things that afterwards, I think I went to Mr. Ayler and I said it, he goes, that was the first thing he noticed, I noticed. We had a parent emailed him that was there and noticed as well. So just very proud of our students that on a day like that, they knew that it wasn't a pep fest, be loud talk, that they took it seriously throughout the whole thing, and just couldn't be prouder of our kids on a day like that, so. That's kind of what I have, trying to be quick there, because I know we've been here a long time tonight, so.
Any questions for Mr. Tim? Thank you. Mr. Rudolph, athletic director.
I will go quick as well and follow up on comments already shared by Mr. Ayler and Mr. Tim as far as noting some of our successes. One is obviously our football team. So the fall activities, which normally would be removed from my report at this point, is obviously still on there. They're having a great season. Obviously, we had a great game that we won, obviously, on Friday. I want to take a special note to thank Lynn Hins and the RP Booster Club for helping to sponsor the RP fan buses that we were able to take there. We actually were able to kind of piggyback on and take our band on one of those coach buses as well. And they're already very anxious and eager to be supporting, and if you've heard the announcements and whatnot, we already have, I think, 70 people signed up for the fan bus to go this coming Saturday. Also want to thank Angie Rodenberg and Holly Eckert, because they're assisting me with this whole sign up and the extra stuff that puts on them. They just do a fabulous job as well. So looking at the football team specifically, beating Murray County Central in the state quarterfinal game. We are now going to be facing Browerville, Eagle Valley. As far as location-wise, they're a little northwest of St. Cloud, two different schools that are co-opted in. Very small towns. Browerville is 790 people, Eagle Valley is 570 people. So it's two little districts that combine. They would be 9-man football by themselves, but they're 11-man because they co-op. So that'll be very exciting playing in the new U.S. Bank Stadium on Saturday. Encourage you all to attend, and if you need a ride, sign up in the office. We also have going on already Winter Dance. You can see on there Emily Paulson. She's returning as our varsity coach. We hired Leanda Anderson at the previous board meeting, I believe. And very excited. We've got 18 girls. We're going to have a full JV team as well as a full separate squads, separate routines, separate uniforms, separate everything to create that unique thing. Sometimes JV has kind of been just kind of a pigtail thing or a piggyback on, but this is going to be something where the JV girls, the younger dancers, are going to get their opportunity to compete, perform, and improve as well. So our varsity will be high kick as well as jazz category, and then we'll have a JV high kick as well. You can see coming up December 3rd will be their first competition. Girls basketball is starting up tonight. We've got 7 through 12, so they've got some over at the middle school, we've got some over here at the high school. With the first game coming up later this month on November 29th, home versus Cotter. Boys basketball set to start next week, along with wrestling starting next week. Thank you for your approvals of the hires to fill those vacancies on the girls and boys basketball. So now you can see we've got the staff all listed there. Fall play, it's kind of we're in a transition when it comes to that. Fall play just finished with those great performances like they've already talked about on the 11th, 12th, and 13th. We're already turning the page, or Forrest is already turning the page to one-act play. Later this month, he's having auditions, so the auditions for one-act play are on November 30th and December 1st. So talk about kind of a fall thing, flip the thing, and he's already into one-act, and that'll go all the way through February, and be another opportunity for those students to get involved. A lot of them in the fall carry over and try out and participate in the spring, or the winter/spring one-act. So trying to go as quick as I can, but would entertain any questions you may have. So.
Not a question, but just a follow-up to what Dan has shared with you about the fact that the ease, when you get a team that qualifies for state, sometimes that can be just the additional organization that goes into it. And my congratulations to him and Holly and the Booster Club and anybody else that works with that. It's quite seamless. It goes very fluid. It's not disruptive. It's exciting to have community members coming in, signing up for the pep bus and getting behind the team and behind the schools. Very rewarding experience, and my thanks to everyone for embracing that and just making it a very successful venture for the athletes and the coaches and our team and our school district. Kudos to everyone. It goes very well.
Questions from Mr. Rudolph? Thank you, Dan. Okay, moving on, we have a regular board meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 19th. We'll be right here at an earlier time of 5 p.m. And we have the truth and taxation meeting, which will begin at 6:15. So we'll have that to deal with on our next meeting. So motion to adjourn. I know we've been here for a while. Right, vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy.
I need to get signatures from all the board members on that abstract for the. Sign on your way out.
Yeah, or a little stiff, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.